Well, thanks for checking out this pitch clip for a feature film project that could be called The Rainmaker, and it's a film that would be dedicated to the incredible journey and inspiration of Thailand's king, who sadly just passed away. The news going all around the world, the Thai people devastated, not only losing their king but their father figure, and the pain was felt all around the world. But a great opportunity to dedicate a film to him, something based on a true story where an English journalist in the late 70s went over for the BBC and spent a lot of time with the king and did a documentary, and it'd be a chance to create a story like that, but instead have it be about a journalist who works for something like Time magazine, the late 70s or early 80s in the UK. A great opportunity for one of the top UK actors, and he's given an assignment by his boss to go over to Thailand and meet the king and find out about this artificial rain that the king has invented and got a patent for, which is an amazing story in itself. So he heads over to Thailand at the end of Act 1 and joins the king on a convoy, and it's here an amazing adventure starts.
In spite of losing one eye after his motor accident as a young man, the king likes to drive himself, very fast. He says that it helps him to feel the land, to sense intuitively what it needs. He plans the trips himself and decides when to stop. The purpose of these tours is always twofold. On the one hand is the improvement in the people's welfare and the development which the king achieves, and this is certainly significant. On the other hand, there is his presence as king among the villagers. Before his visit, they may feel themselves neglected. In his presence, and after he has gone, they know that they are not. Always the encouragement, listening to their problems, helping them to help themselves.
Yeah, so the film's about the writer realizing that it's such a bigger story than just the rain experiment. It's about the incredible connection between the people and their king.
Since the 1950s, King Bhumibol has traveled to the farthest ends of Thailand to understand the living conditions of his people. His hands-on and personable approach would become a hallmark of his reign. In ancient Siam, commoners were not allowed to gaze at kings, let alone come into close contact with them. But King Bhumibol changed all that and went to great efforts to get closer to his people. He journeys around Thailand and into communities worlds apart from his palace life. He witnesses firsthand the stark reality of underdevelopment in Thailand.
So you could imagine the perspective of the writer as far as like a Westerner's view, watching the king do all the things he's passionate about, the things that he's instigated that all help the Thai people in so many ways.
The king sees his main job as being with the rural poor, 85% of the Thai population. With his family, he works extremely hard on the solving of local living problems, constantly visiting the villages, listening to the villagers, and then with his own money, starting projects in health, food production, irrigation or education for villagers to run themselves. Impossible not to be overwhelmed by the energy of this man who works round the clock for his people. What must he think of us, technology-cosseted Westerners? The Queen told us that we could never capture his life on film because we, with our union rules, would never work the hours that he does. Such powers of concentration, such radiant energy.
Yeah, so it's just phenomenal how much work 24/7 the king did for his people, so he could put that into a film in such a unique and powerful way, especially when they get to the point where they test the rain machine.
Rainmaking was novel at the time, but the king and his team decide to experiment with this technique in 1969. With the right humidity, clouds seeded with chemicals can produce rain. The king becomes known as a rainmaker after the success of this project. The people see him as a wise king invoking notions of a semi-divine monarch who could harness the weather for the benefit of the people.
So there's just so much information there that actually happened in real life that I'm sure we could make an incredible film out of it. Just the creating the water in itself and the artificial rain is an amazing story, helping the farmers that are in drought with the irrigation. It's unbelievable. And then the writer can be invited back to the palace where his mind is blown again.
Keen to initiate projects to help his people become self-reliant, he transforms the grounds of his royal palace into a test lab for many of his development projects. He experiments with rice, wanting to find the best cultivation technique for his farmers. King Bhumibol tests different strains of rice from all over Thailand.
So he was just 100% dedicated to his people and super talented too. We could show his music ability in the film. So just a truly amazing man on every level, and he just has to have a film go out there for the rest of the world to see how incredible the king was for Thailand, a non-stop worker.
After the day's visible work and activities are over, the king can spend 4, 5 or even 6 hours alone in his study at night, surrounded by teleprinters, radio sets tuned into police or army frequencies and other communication devices. He debriefs himself on the day and plans tomorrow's trip.
It is a way of preparing myself to be able to do whatever circumstances will have me to do. I gather information by listening. I gather information by looking at the maps or at reading or thinking. And then when time comes, I have the material in my head.
Yeah, so it'll be a fascinating film about one of the most inspirational leaders of all time, and the film can finish with the writer going back to the UK, and because he's written so much about the experience, he ends up getting the cover of Time magazine. I see it kind of like the King's Speech as far as structure and format. I mean, it's fascinating to see a movie about the royal family, but it was through the eyes of an Australian speech therapist that you got a really unique look at the future King of England, and of course helped him throughout a crisis that became the incredible film The King's Speech. And I think we can do a version for Asia Pacific, a fictionalized film based on the real experience of an English journalist who went over to hang out with the king and do a special on the royal family. But we can make it a writer for Time magazine. If it wasn't from the UK, it could be one of the top American actors and have it be from the New York office. But The King's Speech, a huge film made for like 15 million. It took over 400 million around the world. And I think, the King of Thailand, there's no one like him. He's truly the most remarkable leader, I think, in the world. And he just has to have a film made about him, especially from an English perspective, and a movie in English to celebrate truly the King of Kings. So I think that's the opportunity to do it, to dedicate a film to the King of Thailand, the Rainmaker. Thanks for watching.